Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Death by Disney podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and there are two rules to this podcast. The first rule is that I have to watch all of the Disney, every movie that Disney has released, basically. And the second rule is that every episode needs to be chronological. I'm recording them out of order, so I have no idea what number this one will be. But today I am going to review Mary Poppins from 1964, I believe. Let me check. 1964. Yep, 1964. Not the remake, but the one from 1964. Here's the plot of the movie. Mr. Banks is looking for a nanny for his two mischievous children and comes across Mary Poppins, an angelic nanny. She not only brings change in their lives, but also spreads happiness. That is wrong. I mean, the happiness thing is right, but she's not angelic. She is an agent of chaos. She is like, it's just madness, the things that she does in this movie. It stars Julie Andrews in one of her best roles, Dick Van Dyke in a good but confusing role because clearly Dick Van Dyke is not a Cockney and that is a horrible Cockney accent, but quite enjoyable. And David Tomlinson. Here is my review. Let me preface this by saying I do not enjoy musicals at all, but despite this film has some of the catchiest songs ever produced by Disney. The musical numbers are great. The film has this kinetic madness to it, which is great to watch. I've never read any of the Mary Poppins books, but I have to say, this is a great adaptation of them, so clearly does it capture their spirit. There is a plot, but justifiably it takes a back seat to the madness and wonder of Mary Poppins. And the character of Mary Poppins is just wonderful, even apart from her magical abilities. The father character asks her for an explanation when something crazy happens, and she just replies, I never explain anything, and just walks up the stairs. Like, that's going to be my line now. Like, why did you do that, Adam? I never explain anything, and then leave the room. The cast is excellent, including the child actors they cast to play the children. While I have enjoyed many live-action Disney movies during this project, this is definitely the best. I gave it 10 out of 10 stars, and the rating on IMDb is about 7, so you can see that I really liked it. Now I'm going to tell you some trivia about the movie. So the film won 5 Oscars out of 13 nominations, and this is the most Oscars a Disney film has won ever, which is crazy when you think about what classic Disney films there have been, like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Cinderella. But I think that it's easier for an actress or an actor to win Best Actor. Yeah, Julie Andrews won Best Actress, but it's much easier when it's live action rather than when you're doing voice work. Not entirely fair, but understandable. So one thing, I'll let you peek behind the curtain a little bit as to how this podcast is created. So generally, I have watched the movies and then I write a review, and then it does take me a really long time sometimes. Like, I had a year break, I think, in this podcast, so my bad, but it does take me a long time to actually record these, so I have to go back and refresh my memory. And so what I'll do is I'll watch the trailer for it And the trailer for Mary Poppins now is basically like Disney propaganda for the first 20 seconds. But after that, they start showing things from the movie, and you're like, oh, I remember. I remember the funness of this. I remember the zanity. I remember it. It's so good. Zaniness, I guess, not zanity. Zanity should be a word. I think Mary Poppins would say that zanity is a word. So, yeah, I really liked it. But when I was watching that trailer, this is set in like Victorian London, basically, and it's like a rich family, and they want a nanny because the children are misbehaving. But Mary Poppins is singing a song to a little animatronic robin, but it's an American robin. I don't know why they did that. I think maybe they said, oh, it should be a robin because a robin is a very British kind of bird, and it is a very British bird, but were they like, oh, we don't know what it looks like? Maybe they just assumed that the American robin looks the same as the British robin, and it does not. They're not the same species at all. The American robin is much bigger, and the British or European robin is smaller and is much more aggressive and shy at the same time. So it wouldn't be on your finger for sure. An American robin, I think they don't mind people. They create nests on doors and in mailboxes and stuff. They live very close to people. So did they just murder an American robin and say, "Hey, let's put it in the movie"? Um, so the other bit of trivia is basically the Mary Poppins books were written by P.L. Travers, and she really did not like Disney's adaptation because she thought it was vulgar and disrespectful. Um, and I just said that it was a great adaptation. I think that it does capture the spirit of Mary Poppins quite well. It's not a faithful adaptation, but it's an adaptation of her character, and it's crazy that I understand why the author might say, "Oh, what have you done to my book? That's nothing like my book." But on the other hand, people probably have continued to read her book for the past 50, 60, 70 years because of this movie, you know? So I would be like, yeah, thank you. So what happened is, what year was that? Da, 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 da. Looking at my notes, yeah. In 1993, they were going to create a musical based on Mary Poppins. And this author, P.L. Travers, basically said, you can't use any of the Disney songs because those songs are atrocious. Can you imagine going to a Mary Poppins musical and not hearing those songs? That would be craziness. Craziness. But eventually she died, and they worked out some agreement with her estate that they could use the Disney music. Now, here are what the masses say. And as I said, I gave this 10 out of 10. So I'm going to start with the positive review and then give you the negative review. The positive review they're both from IMDb. So this is 10 out of 10, the best musical ever made. This is truly the greatest musical of all time. It's a funny, cute, lovable story. Julie Andrews, who took home the Oscar for Best Actress, was incredible, and I don't care how much they praise Chicago, this is better. The cast are incredibly cute with the two children, but Julie Andrews ruled the screen. She was in another league to the other nominees for Best Actress, and I know they say if you want to win an Oscar, then star in a musical, but seriously, Julie Andrews was far better. In my opinion, Julie Andrews also should have taken home the Oscar for The Sound of Music, which was utterly brilliant as well. This is the most amazing film your children will see, and that is from Jacob Henry Tucker from March 10th, 2007. In the beginning, I thought that this was my review because I pretty much agree. I do. I think the other musical that I really like is Chicago because it's just a fun kind of crazy story in Chicago, and I probably won't be reviewing it for this particular podcast, but I think I would review it for another podcast that I have. But I'm not gonna plug that because I might not. Um, yeah, so now let's talk about the negative review. And this is 1 out of 10, poorly structured, lacking for focus, overlong. I may be in the minority here, but after having tried to endure the full 2 hours and 20 minutes of this as an adult, I fully understood why I never liked it much as a child. It is not focused on children, but mostly on the grown ups around them. Mary Poppins appears out of nowhere and leaves just as fast, dumping the children who got attached to her. Some of the songs seem completely unrelated to this story, the woman feeding the birds, etc., and are quite sad. Mrs. Banks has almost no part in this story. Mr. Banks has way too much, but he seems like a deranged character. There are too many song and dance numbers, some very loud, most overlong. Some scenes are irrelevant to the plot development, if there is anything, and there is a lot of banking in old men. None in the least entertaining. The only part I liked was the one with the animation, which I just discovered was the one the author P.L. Travers hated most. Actually, she hated the whole movie, but for reasons different from mine. Some may object that this movie got Oscars, to which I can just add that Oscars, now in the past, do seem to be distributed randomly or for politically correct reasons. And that's from Die Reggie, July 21st, 2017. Okay, let's break that down a little much. Um, so, Mary Poppins appearing out of nowhere and leaving just as fast. She's a force of nature. That's why. Like, she doesn't care about the children particularly much because she's going on to other children to have crazy adventures with them. So it makes perfect sense to me. Um, the the thing about Mr. Banks having no part, like Mrs. Banks having no part of the story, that's the little plot that there is. So Mrs. Banks is a suffragist and she wants the vote for women. And so she's out fighting for the vote for women. And that's why it focuses on Mr. Banks because he's like this. They had cartoons like this at the time where, husbands would be left at home and it would be madness because they wouldn't know what they were doing. So that's what that's referring to. And I don't think that you need to know that to enjoy the movie, but this person clearly has no idea what's going on with that. I like how there's too many song and dance numbers, some very loud, like, of course, why not? Although I do like some scenes are irrelevant to the plot development if there is anything, and there's a lot of banking in old men, none the least entertaining. So I think that part is more connected to how to say this. Like it's showing how Mr. Banks, his name is Mr. Banks, literally. So it's showing him how he's disconnected to his family life. And he thinks it's like this big burden that's being put on him because his wife is also disconnected to the family life, but that's less traditional. So by showing the banking and that kind of thing, they're showing, okay, like the world outside the family is a bit hollow. So that's why that's there. Um, and the thing about it not deserving Oscars, it's one of the best musicals of all time. Of course, it deserves to have 5 Oscars. It's one of the best live action Disney movies of all time. Of course, it deserves 5 Oscars. And, politically correct reasons in 1964? Probably not. And I think nowadays, it's not about political correctness. It's about like maybe making more artistic movies and stuff. Like I used to enjoy watching movies that have been nominated for Oscars, but like I don't know. Like I remember some people do the thing where they watch all of the Oscar movies, and I haven't done that in a while because the last time I did that, it was horrible. Like I didn't like the movies whatsoever. Okay, that is the end of this podcast about Mary Poppins, Death by Disney. Tune in for the next one. Like, review, leave a comment wherever good podcasts are served. Thank you, and bye.